Hi, my name is Ethan Summers. I'm a junior, and my major is business administration.
My name is Madeline Townsend. I'm a junior, and my major is magazine media.
My name is Jayana Fennell. I'm a freshman, and I'm a telecommunications major.
Let's start this.
So the first question.
Which Bible character do you relate to the most?
I'd probably say Peter because throughout the Bible, he kind of goes back and forth on Christianity, and I can relate to that growing up. I kind of go to church, other times not. So I relate to Peter in that way.
I think I relate more to Ruth because family has always been a big part in my development and my values and how I go about life.
I would have to say Esther because I think she was like a really strong model and she was a really good leader. And, yeah.
Who has been a spiritual mentor to you? I'd probably say my mom because, growing up, I could always come to her for spiritual advice, and she'd always be there for me.
I'd say one of my youth pastors from back home when I was in high school. She was very central to my spiritual development, being a teenager and going through high school and personal and spiritual changes as well. So she was really big in that.
I would say it was one of the little ladies back in my church. Her name was Brenda. She helped me out with a lot of like the hardship I went through as a Christian in high school, and she was always there for me.
Okay. Who is your favorite Christian artist?
I have to say Lauren Daigle. I love her new album, and I don't know, she speaks a lot of truth in her songs.
I really like Elevation Worship. They were really good during my high school years, and then they've just been really central to my kind of the way that I worship nowadays too.
I'd probably say Lecrae. Lecrae's a really good artist, so. Yeah.
Okay.
You're good. Everybody's like, Lord Daigle, worshiper, cool. Elevation, cool. And we got Ethan. I look Lecrae. So, that's cool. All right, let's go pick the next question.
When was the first time you heard from God?
I wouldn't say necessarily heard, but just praying throughout my life, just to where I'm at in life right now in college and things like that. I know He's listening, so that's my basis of it.
I think when I was 11 or 12 and my great-grandma would take my sister and I to church, and then I eventually started going to night church with her, and the praying that we would do during those sessions was very enriching, and I felt like I heard God the most there. That was one of the first times, and it was so powerful.
I think the first time I heard from God, or at least I think I heard from God, was probably in high school trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I think God had put youth on my heart, doing something for youth in a church.
When did your faith become real to you?
Maybe around starting to go to college and leading up to preparing for college, I realized that faith was something that is also outside of the church, and being on your own is something where your faith is constantly tested, and it was very prominent to me that my faith needed to be built by myself at this point in my life, so I think that's when.
Yeah, for me, it was talking to my mom because when me and my brother were born, we weren't supposed to make it. So, she told me about how we had, a 1% chance of living, all this stuff. And for me, that's kind of when I came to grips, there's a higher power and a higher being. So.
I think it it probably once I was starting to get into high school, like moving to a new church, realizing like that it was like my choice. It wasn't just going to, because I grew up in church, it wasn't just going to church with my parents. I had a choice, and like that's when it became like super real.
All right, let's move on to the last bold question.
Okay. What's the most awkward church experience you've ever had?
For me, it was my grandpa. He fell asleep at like a pew, so it was just really awkward, and people were looking at us, and there's nothing I can do. You know, he's my grandpa, so like, just really awkward.
Mine was when I was doing announcements, and the whole church was like still praising, and I was just kind of standing there, like awkwardly looking at everyone.
Mine happened a couple of years ago. I was on stage playing. It was a Sunday morning service, and there was a woman in the congregation that came up, and it was out of the blue, totally not on the agenda, but she started doing a testimony and speaking over the congregation, and then it got emotional over the course of, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 minutes, and everyone was crying, and I was crying, and I could feel the tears on my face, but I couldn't do anything about it because my hands were playing, so I had to wait until I sat down. And then my friends, they nudged me during the service, and they were like, "You've got black on your face." So my makeup had run and then it dried, and so I had to spend the rest of the service looking like that.
Final question, guys. So during your time at Ball State, and being involved with Chi Alpha, what's one takeaway that you can really take from that?
For me, it's just like knowing there's like more Christians out there than I know. Like in the media and perception, like it kind of seems like there might not be as many as in the past, but it's nice to know on campus there's still a lot of religious people, given our generation at least. So that's what my takeaway from it.
I think I've learned that the people that you meet in college are definitely ones that are paramount to your development as an adult, but even more so for Christian students who kind of form that bond. I think it's a little bit more deeper. It goes more than beyond the natural friendship. I think it goes more spiritual than that. So
One of the biggest takeaways that I can think of is like everywhere you go, you can find some truly genuine people. Like the people in Chi Alpha that I've met so far are just so kind and opening, and there's so many things that I don't know if I would have been able to do this semester last semester if they weren't here for me.
All right. Good job, everybody. I'm proud of you. Well, not Ethan, but the rest of you.